Hey there, gel pressers, and welcome to today's video. So today we are going to be playing with sublimation markers from Artesprix. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking those markers and just scribbling them across my 8x10 gel press plate, because what we're going to do is create just some fun kind of watercolor backgrounds. If you're not familiar with the process of sublimation, it is just basically where by taking this special kind of ink and adding heat, you turn that ink into a gas, and it will actually bond with your fabric or whatever you're using. I'm using rubbing alcohol here to kind of get that watercolor effect, and using my Tim Holtz blower just to kind of move that around just a little bit. And the great thing about using Artesprix is you don't have to have anything special. This is actually just plain copy paper that I'm using to lift this. And you can see I've got a really cool watercolor background. And I'm going to do this a few times so I have a few options. I kind of noticed in the first one that I might need a little bit more alcohol just to kind of move the pigment around a little bit more. So I'm really just kind of having a little playtime like I'm a kid and just scribbling. And I want to make sure, like the first one had pinks and purples and a little bit of reds, I think. And this one, I'm going to do some blues and some greens and some yellows. And then the third one will have a little bit more variety, because I want to make sure that I have a wide variety of watercolors to kind of go with. And this time I did add more of that rubbing alcohol. And you can see it's pulling through that paper a lot more, so I know I'm getting a much better blend. And I'll show you guys pictures of all of those here at the end, because I know it's kind of quick going through there. So one more time, we're doing the exact same thing. And what's really great, and it's going to be super fun, is we're actually going to take these prints, we're going to cut them out, and we're actually going to apply them to these really cool polyester coated rubber coasters that I found on Amazon, which I'll link below for you guys. The big thing with sublimation is it likes to attach to only certain things, so make sure you do your research and make sure it does say for sublimation, because it won't work on just anything, particularly if it's fabric. The higher concentration of polyester, the better imprint you're going to get. And you're going to notice these colors are just a little bit muted. That's totally normal. Once we add the heat, we'll actually brighten those colors and get a much more vibrant image and transfer once we do that next section. So another cool thing that Artesprix has is actually an ink pad that is sublimation ink. So you could use your existing stamps and stencils and that kind of thing to create more sublimation prints. I'm actually digging through my stash and finding just a few funky stamps and that I like. This one is a Tim Holtz one. And again, you're going to notice that even though this is a black sublimation ink, it actually looks like I'm stamping a brown. But like I said, once we apply heat, that will get super dark black and will be super fun. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating almost like a bunch of like ephemera, for lack of a better word, that we're going to use later to kind of add depth and to add more things onto our gel press watercolor coasters here in just a little bit. So let's speed through this part and then we'll come back and chat in just a minute. All right, now it's time for the next step on our project. Here are my 3 watercolor prints that I am using for this particular project. You can see I tried to do a mixture of colors that kind of fit in my wheelhouse. And now these are the coasters. It's upside down, so you can't see the white part. And I'm just using it as a kind of a stencil, a mask, whatever you want to call it, to get the right shape, because I don't want to just use all of it, because that way I can save some of these prints to use again later. And I'm just cutting a circle around my coasters and using some Artesprix thermal tape just to kind of hold it in place so that when we do the next step, it doesn't end up moving around and messing up my print. So I'm going to do the same thing to all of these. And through the magic of editing, they are all done. And you can see I've got them taped and secure. Now, I don't have any fancy sublimation stuff. I don't have a sublimation heater press or the little Cricut press thing. I don't have any of those. So I'm just going to be using a plain iron set to cotton, which is the highest setting, and making sure the steam is off. And I'm using it with a towel. The other thing to make sure that I did not do this time, and I meant to, is there's actually supposed to be a protective barrier between, so a piece of deli paper or some Artesprix thermal paper. It just keeps the ink from staining your printer. But look how cool that looks. And that is permanent. It's not going to come off because it is now infused with my fabric. Now we're going to take some of those fun stamps that we did earlier, and we're going to do the exact same technique. We're going to just cut little pieces out, and we're actually going to do that sublimation technique again and heat it up, and it's going to bond that ink with our little polyester thing here. And again, do as I say, not as I do. And I realized I accidentally had my steam on that one. Do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you have that protective barrier in between, and that just saves your iron or your press, whatever you happen to have, from getting gunky and inky whenever that ink does become a gas and potentially ruining your stuff. So let's not do that. So I was kind of playing around with different techniques. With this one, I put my layer down, and then, oh, look how cool that is. However, I didn't mean to put that straight edge there, but you know, it happens. But now that's permanent, and I'm so excited. So I wanted to try a different way as well. I wanted to go back in with a mask that I have right here, and actually the sublimation ink, and dabbing it through. So instead of doing a stamped and doing it as a 2-step process, I actually applied the sublimation ink directly on top of my my sublimation watercolor print, just through a stencil, and just to kind of give it some, you know, some depth and stuff. And I just wanted to see how it would work. So we're going to do the exact same thing here. And this time I did remember to put the protective piece of paper on. Go me. And so what's really great about this too is even if you don't have the fancy equipment, you can get it done pretty fast. Like, it was on there maybe a minute to 2 minutes. And you can always kind of peel it up just a little bit and give it a little sneaky peek and see if it's transferred enough. So this one, I just kind of wanted to play with a different technique instead of using that stamped image, see what the sublimation ink looked like if I just directly put it onto my print. So let's give that a look and see what that looks like here in just a second. I'm probably overdoing it, but that's okay. And I think personally that it turned out super cool. Look how bright those colors are. So these are all of my finished coasters, and you can see I've done just a variety of different techniques. So now for fun, let's turn these coasters into a canvas. I'm going to start by kind of deciding what order I want these little coasters to be on my canvas. I have this black canvas that I doodled on, and I absolutely hate the doodles, so we're going to do our best to cover those up. And while my hot glue gun is heating up, I actually found these really cool stickers that I've had for a long time that are just some words from Illustrated Faith. And I thought because they were black writing but had a clear background that they would be perfect to kind of fill in those spaces on my coaster. So I'm just using words like be an example, kindness, and grace, and called to love, and I think the last one is bee trying. So I just really kind of wanted to make this a little inspirational while we were making this present. That's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, we're getting close to Christmas, and how cool would this be to hand make someone either just the coasters by themselves or to hand make a canvas that has these really cool phrases and these really bright and fun colors. So I thought that was kind of what I was going for. And I have this quilter's ruler that was super handy for kind of lining things up because I was eyeballing it, but it wasn't I don't know, my eyeballs weren't working and I didn't feel like they were going right. So I'm using it just to kind of line it up. So make sure they're 2 inches from the top and bottom and 1 inch from the side, and making sure my middle one is right at about 6 inches in the middle. And then just flipping them up a little bit to add some hot glue to them to keep them down. Nothing super fancy, no fancy glue. It's just a regular old hot glue gun, and it's working really great to hold these down. And so I'm just kind of lifting up a little side at a time. And now I'm just going to go back in. This is a white Sharpie paint pen, a water-based, and just using it to add some doodles, kind of to cover up the doodles I didn't like in the background, and they're kind of fading in the background, so that makes me happy. And then just adding some stitching detail and some circles, and keeping the whole project really kind of simple, because I really want those circles and all the hard work we put into those to be the kind of the main focus. And then I'm going back in because those letters were black on black. So I added just a little bit of a white shadow with the pen once again. And we are just about done with this project, so I hope you will go and try this super fun technique with Artesprix and gel press, and maybe come up with some really great personalized Christmas ideas for your friends and family. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you guys next time here on the Gel Press YouTube channel.